Do you really think this was a desperation ploy for them to make up money somewhere else?
This was expected though. This wasn't just this wasn't just a COVID thing either. There was talk about this probably 2 to 3 years ago before
The
COVID.
CBA, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of players that are obviously frustrated with adding another game to the regular season just because it adds another game of wear and tear to their bodies where you're going to play 4 months and every Sunday it's going to be, you're lacing them up with the potential of playing the last play of your career. So for me, I don't necessarily think it's that bad as a fan because it's more football for you and I to watch and to analyze on a weekly basis. And it does add somewhat of a different mix now that you have an 18-week regular season instead of 17. So even playoff races could probably be significantly changed because now you have an extra game to make things up compared to when you had a 16 game season when you were limited to one less game. So it does kind of make things a little bit more compelling in that sense. But the players are obviously frustrated with this. But I don't really have a lot of sympathy for them because if they really didn't want to add another game to the regular season, they would have made that extremely clear in the CBA talks a couple years ago. I imagine there were probably conversations behind closed doors about adding another game to the regular season. I imagine the players probably had some sort of say in the meeting, but they didn't make their presence or their voice really heard enough if they were going to say we don't want to play 17 games in the regular season. It's just not worth it to us. It's not worth it to our bodies. And it's going to be a lot more harmful in the long run than it is just short term with the revenue boost that the league is going to get. So, like I said, it's not something that I like it simply because it's another week of football to talk about between you and I. But for the players that are really complaining about this, you had an opportunity to talk about this years ago when the CBA came up. And you didn't make a forceful enough point back then to avert this situation that's currently going on right now. So that's where I'm kind of like left in, I don't want to say limbo here. I'm kind of like in the middle. Like I understand where the player's frustration is and I understand where the money aspect or the revenue side from the NFL's perspective is, but these players complaining about this, I'm like, yeah, like I get it, but it's like you had an opportunity to get this addressed years ago and you didn't really do much about it. So I know
So
it
the
seems
ex-
I know it seems harsh and I know it kind of seems maybe to the players a little tone deaf, but it kind of is what it is. The NFL was already addressing this years ago. They had the idea in the works and now it's here. So I think the players just kind of have to, I think they'll just adjust to it. They'll probably just kind of like, bitch and moan about it now, but they'll get used to it. And that
so to,
I know it says, I know it sounds tone deaf, but it's just kind of
No,
how I
not
see
at
it.
all. To give the audience a little bit of a backtrack, the CBA is a collective bargaining agreement that the NFLPA, the NFL Players Association, and the NFL do every couple of years,
Mhm.
where they discuss rules, regulations, percentages, payouts, contracts, pretty much everything that players and the league have to kind of come to common ground and common terms so that there's not a lockout. Because when they do not agree, we all know what happened the summer of 2010, 2011 or 2011, 2012, whatever it was, where the
Mhm.
NBA kind of shut down and had a full lockout because both parties could not get along. It's the same thing for the NFL. There's a player association per major sports league. So when they have these talks, the talks can last anywhere from a few weeks to a few months. They go out during the entire offseason. Players have certain representatives that speak on their behalf. And then obviously the NFL has their situation and their own legal staff that have to come to terms. So in these discussions, extended regular seasons, playoff seedings, TV endorsement deals, you name it, they talk about it and they have to all agree so that there's equal opportunity for everybody to feel that they're winning.
Mhm.
And for those of you that are unaware, once again, the players vote on these decisions, right? The Players Association gathers the information, brings it to the players, and the players have to vote. I don't know how many players get to vote. I don't know if it's everybody in the league. I don't know if it's a few people per team, but There were players a few years ago that were opposed to this. So did they have their opportunity? Yes, but there may have been more players that said, "Yeah, I want more money," because obviously that's another paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
That's another opportunity to gain capital. That's another opportunity for incentives and bonuses. Oh, I got 9 sacks this season. I need 10 to get this $1 million bonus. I got one more week to do
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yep.
So I think that greed, to a certain extent, I don't speak for these players. I don't know any of them personally. I don't have any inside information. I'm telling you this. This is just opinion based, as we have to continue to reiterate weekly now. Um, some of these players may have just said, you know what, I want more money. I'm going to put my life on the line another week. I want more. I want more bread. I want more security. So I disagree with you completely, because I feel like there was a lot more of a closer percentage, if I remember correctly, of people that didn't want it versus people that did. But people that wanted the extra game ended up winning it out. Again, don't quote me in the sense of it was super close, but I do know that there were a lot of disgruntled players that didn't want this, and there was a potential lockout predicament that was looming over them if they didn't come over to some form of agreement. I think it was going to be 18 games, but they changed it to 17 or something like that. I know there was a disagreement in somewhere where they had to compromise. I can't remember exactly what it is. I know we can look it up, but the time it's going to take to find that right now. That's my fault for being ill prepared. But you know, it is what it is at this point. I do agree with you. Players kind of have to get over it. Again, they are going to get compensated, but I do feel bad for those players that have vocally spoken up and have said, "This is ridiculous. I meant that, I'm a little bit on the older side. I don't want to be doing this right now. Like I don't have to do this." But this is the hand they've been dealt, and they got to kind of just, like you said, they just got to deal with it.